What's going on, Flock? Bear with me here. It is 2:24 a.m. Eastern right now, technically Tuesday, November 26th, coming off Monday Night Football. Sarah and I just wrapped up all the post-production that goes into our post-game live stream, and I wanted to give you sort of a condensed version, the post-game of the post-game, if you will. So glad you're here. As always, welcome inside the channel. I'm bobtrosset. This is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond, and it is a Victory Tuesday around these parts in and around Baltimore. 30-23, the Ravens take down the Chargers in Week 12 on Monday Night Football. The Harbaugh Bowl goes to older brother John over younger brother Jim. John is now 3-0, including a Super Bowl victory over his younger brother in the NFL. I believe they played in the preseason once as well, and I think the Ravens won that on top of this. But Baltimore improves to 8-4, now a half game back of the Pittsburgh Steelers for first place in the AFC North Division. And it's a big one coming up on Sunday. It's a home game against the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the hottest teams in the entire league. Saquon Barkley playing at an MVP level. Jalen Hurts playing some good football. They're 9-2. Are the Philadelphia Eagles. But as far as the Ravens are concerned, this was a win that defensively, they got a whole lot from the defensive side of the football. Who was it without Roquan Smith, by the way? As Albert Breer noted here, the run game churned out over 200 yards, led by Derrick Henry with 140 plus on 37 carries total. And after yielding a touchdown on the first possession, Baltimore's next 7 defensive possessions went punt, field goal, punt, field goal, field goal, punt, punt. And again, that was without Roquan. Malik Harrison stepped up big. Chris Board did so as well. And several other contributions defensively in this one. And oh, by the way, when you got your MV3 slinging it around and executing on third down, that's a formula for success. Lamar finishes with a 72.7 completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 126.5. This was a game that the Chargers once led 10-0. Of course, the Ravens ended up roaring back and really controlling this game for most of the following 3 quarters after the first. Baltimore is 4-1 this season when trailing by 10-plus points at any point. The rest of the NFL, 18-130. That's 12%. That's a 12% win percentage. The Ravens have won 4 straight when trailing by 10-plus points. What was once their Achilles heel, what was once something that most felt like Lamar Jackson wasn't capable of overcoming, has become a strong suit of theirs, has become a comfort zone, has become something that they're more than capable of pulling themselves out of. And that is the era of offensive dominance that we're living in right now in Baltimore. And speaking of dominance, Lamar's been nothing short of that on Monday Night Football throughout his career. He improved to 7-2. 22 touchdown passes, and clean football through 9 games on Monday night. No picks, 22 touchdown passes, and a 7-2 record to go along with it. That's the best winning percentage in primetime games for starting quarterbacks since the 1970 merger with a minimum of 15 starts. He's 20-5 in primetime games, guys. He and Steve Young lead the way, 1-2 respectively, along with Ken Stabler and Joe Montana. Not bad company for QB1. And his offense was clicking on all cylinders after that opening frame. They ended up winning the time of possession battle, clawing back 30 minutes, 57 seconds. Los Angeles, 29 minutes and 3 seconds. So very small margin there of difference, but LA had dominated that game in the first half and particularly in the first quarter. So for the Ravens to actually end up possessing the football for longer is pretty impressive. Both teams played clean football, no turnovers. Ravens can't necessarily say the same in terms of penalties. They committed 9, which negated 102 yards, something that's got to get cleaned up. The Ravens averaged 6.5 yards per play. They were 8 for 15 on third down and 3 for 3 on fourth down, which to me is probably the biggest takeaway of this entire game. John Harbaugh set the tone, going for it on his own 16, 4th and 1, towards the end of the second quarter, and it resulted in a Ravens touchdown with several key plays along the way, including a 22-yard completion to Zay Flowers and a ridiculous web gem kind of play and a 40-yard bomb. It's almost as if I just morphed into a Bostonian. Did you hear that? Yard? A 40-yard? No, a 40-yard bomb, a connection between Lamar and Rashod. It was an exceptional play. The ball tracking skills from Rashod were on full display. The alpha dog in him to beat his one-on-one coverage. It was tremendous. And shout out the offensive line. Lamar finished with an average time to throw of 3.43 seconds. That's the third longest this season. He accumulated 158 of 177 yards on dropbacks over 2.5 seconds. He's accounted for 3 of the 9 longest time to throw marks this season. And you see the passing charts. Lots of success, taking those layups. You're already kidding. By the way, it's 2:30. Like, I literally can't speak English. I was having an issue 2 hours ago on the postgame show. You better believe the postgame of the postgame show is also going to be problematic. So apologies for my lack of polish. It drives me nuts when I can't talk. But this is just how it goes. Primetime games absolutely ruin me. Khalil Mack, the star pass rusher for the Los Angeles Chargers, had a few things to say post-game. And this was in reference to Derrick Henry. Quote, "I don't think it's hard to play against that guy, and hopefully we see this team again. The way I play football, I would love to play this team again. I would love to. It's not hard for me to play against that guy. I love playing against the greats, and this was no different. When I say hard, I mean in the sense of playing against him. If I'm on the field, I know if he comes to my side, I got him." Look, to me, I don't know. These guys have a lot of pride. Obviously, this is an all-pro in Khalil Mack. Derrick Henry's a future Hall of Famer. In one breath, I kind of respect the pride, the competitiveness, the spirit that Khalil Mack possesses. It makes him great. That self-belief, that inner dog, this kind of mentality is what makes him great. But in some cases, sometimes you got to admit defeat. Derrick Henry had his way tonight. 24 carries for 140 yards. He averaged 5.8 yards per carry with a long of 27 on your defense, Khalil. And so while I'm all for that kind of competitive spirit, that kind of one-of-one mentality, because that's what it takes to get where he's gotten and where he's sustained in this league, sometimes you got to get up there and tip your cap. And he certainly did tip his cap in a sense, referring to him as a great. I love playing against the greats, and this was no different. But it looked awfully hard there at times, particularly for the DBs that found themselves in the way of a vicious and violent downhill running Derrick Henry. Look out. He was a key part of this turnaround. He was a key part of John Harbaugh's decision-making on 3rd and short, on 4th down. Again, I want to make sure I repeat and reiterate a major, major takeaway from this game, and that is John Harbaugh's decision-making on 4th down, empowering his guys and going with his gut. They were 3 for 3 on 4th down. They were 8 for 15, as I mentioned already, on 3rd down. It's game-changing stuff. High risk, High reward for John Harbaugh, especially when you decide to go for it at your own 16 towards the end of the second quarter. The king was king-like tonight. And while he snapped his streak of touchdowns, which he'd gone for 11 straight with at least one, it's not like he didn't reach the end zone. He did. It was called back due to penalty. Ravens fed him early and often. Chargers had no answer for this guy. Khalil Mack's got to come to terms with that. Justice Hill, 51-yard touchdown on 3rd and 3. Showed some burst, some breakaway speed towards the left-hand side. The Chargers hadn't given up more than 20 points in their first 9 games. Ravens hung a 30 spot on them relatively routinely. Justice Hill was extended for a team-friendly deal this past offseason. He continues to live up to that. Brings a certain type of standard, certain type of excellence as an unsung glue guy for this team. He finishes with 4 carries for 55 yards. That touchdown and a career long of 51. He also chipped in 2 receptions for 7 yards, caught both footballs that were thrown in his direction. Rashod Bateman, just an all-out effort play, an all-out concentration play. 40-yard bomb from Lamar. I mentioned that a little bit earlier on. Bateman catches 2 footballs for 43 yards. He was targeted 3 times. But that 40-yarder, the concentration, the alpha, the ability to track that football, to haul it in, yeah, that's a web gem, as I mentioned earlier on in the live stream. Mark Andrews with a big touchdown. Don't look now. Mark has 6 touchdown catches in the past 7 games. He's starting to find his groove. And especially in improv mode, we know that's when Lamar and Mark are at their best. And the improvisation game was working. High impact game for Mark Andrews. Deontay Johnson still struggling to find his role here. Lamar's 1 for 5 when targeting him so far. He tripped on his lone target tonight. I keep saying tonight. I mean, technically it was yesterday, but you guys know what I mean. It's 2:37 a.m. Eastern. Hopefully you'll give me some grace. Should have had this graphic off the screen, by the way, for minutes ago. We've moved on from Khalil Mack. Malik Harrison had 12 tackles. Roquan Smith could not go. A game ball is absolutely warranted. And number 40 is deserving. He was flying around the field. He was a thumper. He has his limitations, especially in pass coverage. But the only linebacker who had more tackles than him this week is Zaire Franklin, who leads the league in tackles this season. So Malik came out. He was well prepared. He was impactful. He was physical. Tough opening drive, not only for Malik, but for this defense in general. But they answered the bell. And Malik brought a certain type of physicality that without Roquan, with that hamstring, was absolutely necessary. Defensively, this is a group that, again, after giving up that first touchdown, the next 7 defensive possessions, they went on a run, forced a punt, field goal, punt, field goal, field goal, punt, punt, without Roquan. Kyle Hamilton wore the green dot device, the communication set. Chris Board filled in admirably at times, as did Christian Welch. I thought Nate Wiggins had a lockdown game, the rookie corner out of Clemson. He continues to build. His role continues to expand. You already know what to expect from Kyle. This defense goes as Kyle goes. And it's no coincidence that since he and Ardarius Washington have become running mates as the deep safeties, and that permanent personnel change has gone into effect, there haven't been the big plays. the Ravens were second league-wide in terms of 20-plus yard plays that have been hung on them going into week 12. Not one. They didn't allow one over 20 tonight. It's a great step in the right direction for Zach Orr's defense. Certainly areas to clean up. While Brandon Stevens had that DPI picked up, that flag that was initially called DPI, it was ultimately picked up due to it being deemed an uncatchable football. I still thought there was a ton of contact there. Stevens did have a sack. The Ravens got to the quarterback. They had 4 total sacks. Josh Tupou, the nose tackle, practice squad elevation. Brandon Stevens, like I mentioned, Adafe Owe, and Kyle Van Noy were your sack totals. Malik Harrison, again, 13 total tackles, 7 of which were solo, 1 tackle for loss. Nate Wiggins had a couple pass deflections and flew around. Big Travis Jones, be curious to see his snap count. He was questionable going into the game with an ankle. But certainly, if you're looking to divvy out game balls, I think Malik Harrison is deserving of one. Again, he has his limitations, but this dude was very, very important. Lamar is now 18-4, coming off a loss throughout his career. It's Monday Night Football dominance. Dominance coming off a loss. And, of course, dominance for the older brother, John, over younger brother, Jim Harbaugh, now remaining unbeaten, 3-0. Justin Tucker hit from 45, converted all of his extra points. A good step in the right direction for JT9. That 45-yarder was right down Main Street. He also made a tackle on a kickoff, by the way. Special teams continues to be an issue. Nate Wiggins was penalized. Devontae Walker had a tough rep that Bill Belichick called out on the Manning cast. How about Dicker over on the other side? The Chargers kicker, Dicker, he was exceptional tonight. Kyle Van Noy's 1 sack away from tying last season's career high of 9. He had 1 tonight, brought some good pressure. Again, Malik Harrison was everywhere. He was clogging the middle, good against the run, physical, hard-hitting thumper, made his presence felt. Penalties continue to be an issue. Patrick McCary had another holding call penalty on him. He entered week 12 with the league lead, so that will not change. The Ravens did as well. They finished as a team, being penalized 9 times for 102 yards. But with this offense, you can overcome that. 8 for 15 on 3rd down, 3 for 3 on 4th down. They averaged 6.5 yards per play. They got 177 through the air, 212 on the ground. They rushed it for 5.7 yards per carry. They won the time of possession battle. They played clean football. This is a great Harbaugh and Harbaugh matchup. It really was. I enjoyed it. Had a little bit of everything. Unfortunately for J.K. Dobbins, he was ruled out with a knee injury. He was gashing the Ravens early, but wasn't able to finish this one. Gus Edwards, the other former Raven, along with a slew of others, just 9 carries for 11 yards. They kept him in check. And this number 1 ranked rushing defense did the job. I thought Lamar was a little indecisive, a little tentative, a little hesitant. He has been for multiple weeks. Not sure what that's about. Not sure if it's health related or game plan wise or something mental, but that is a note. That said, still an MV3 front runner type of candidate now through 12 weeks, and it's going to be a star-studded matchup. December 1st on Sunday at the bank, the 9-2 Eagles, the 8-4 Ravens, Saquon, Jalen, Lamar, the King, MVP and Offensive Player of the Year candidates all over the barn. Looking forward to it. It's a 4:25 kickoff inside the bank. I'll have pregame coverage at Be More Around Town at 801 West Austin Street, as always. Give John Harbaugh some love here. He put his stamp on this one, made it very clear the way this was going to go. They were going to be calculated and aggressive. He empowered his players, and it paid dividends today. Baltimore's now a half game out for first place in the AFC North behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of football left to be played. Harbaugh Bowl, round 3 in the books. Appreciate you guys, as always, for dropping by the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the condensed version. I may have missed a few details. If I did, go check out our full conversation, our full live stream. Me and Sarah Ellison did an hour plus long of content deep into the wee hours, which is exactly what it is right now. 2:45 a.m. Eastern. My eyes are literally closing as I wrap up the show. So with that, I'm going to bounce. Thanks for dropping by. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, do all the things. I'll catch up with you soon.